This video is sponsored by Squarespace. When we discover a creative hobby, we tend to go all in and get pretty obsessed. I think photographers especially are obsessive people, detail-oriented people, and people who really throw themselves into their hobby. When I very first picked up a camera, I already had a large mental filing cabinet full of images from movies, TV shows, books, and other things that I had been absorbing over the years. These were the things that informed the images that I created with my camera. I hadn't actively looked at photographers' work though. I had just passively consumed the culture around me and looked at images on platforms like Tumblr in the earlier days of the internet. Once I started taking photography more seriously though, I felt the need to look at photographers' work in this active, very studious way. I started taking notes on the greats, what cameras they used, why they shot, and everything about their process and style. I bought photo books, I watched documentaries, I went to gallery showings, and I completely immersed myself in this new world of viewing photography as the active photographer. This type of consumption of photography is very different to the previous one that was more casual and happenstance. It was a very intentional, studious approach as opposed to the previous organic one. I was consuming so much in the photography realm that I ended up flipping around a lot in terms of gear and style. One minute I wanted to be like William Eggleston, walking around with my camera in my neighborhood, capturing colorful moments. And the next I wanted to capture highly erotically charged images of women in the style of Helmut Newton. My head was so filled with all of these other photographers' work. There is nothing particularly wrong with this, and it's very normal as an artist to play around with different styles on the journey to finding your own style. But I believe at a certain point, it can become very detrimental to you finding your own truly unique style. So after all this flip-flopping around from genres and trying so hard to be a good student of photography, I kind of ended up burning out and took a long hiatus from photography. I always thought about it though, and I still very much viewed the world as a photographer, and I continued to engage with all of my other creative enthusiast habits. My absorption levels for art and creativity were really high, but I wasn't outputting that much, which, if I'm honest, made me feel like a failed creative. Getting back into photography felt hard and weird and a little bit forced. I felt like I was having an identity crisis, not really knowing what I should or shouldn't be photographing. Resorting back to my old ways, I thought of all of the greats of photography, the people that we were supposed to look up to and try and replicate or come close to. Phrases like take it slow or make work that means something came to mind for me, and I was trying so hard to fill these boxes and apply these rules to my own photography. It wasn't until I ditched that notion that I really found my feet and my style with my photography. So if you are here wondering why you struggle to feel or find inspiration or finally land on a style that feels like your own, then I have the answer for you. Stop looking at photography. Look to the peripherals of your image-making hobby and seek inspiration from those things instead. I believe our creative act should be a melting pot of all different types of disciplines and interests and facets, as opposed to a focus on just one creative act, photography. I believe pulling references from multiple different sources is what truly creates unique images, not staring at ones in books or galleries that have already been made by someone else. This kind of inspiration is all around us, it's everywhere, and it's your ticket to becoming the creative person that you want to be. So let's redesign, reinterpret, and totally change the way we approach finding inspiration for our photography. Watching movies is arguably the closest thing to looking at photography, and it's not the most unusual way to gain inspiration for someone in the visual arts field, but I do think it's something that isn't fully harnessed, and I don't hear enough people citing it as a way to get inspired. So I'd like to ask you, how many movies are you watching a year? How many times are you going to the cinema? I would guess probably not enough unless it's something that you are very actively interested in. And what could be more immersive than sitting in a theater, watching something being completely enveloped by sound and vision? Creating time to watch movies that will challenge you is really important as a creative. Even if you sometimes don't love the film, people say that was a waste of time, but I really think that this opens up so much discussion and it can put a fire under you for going out and researching why the director or whoever made that decision and what the reasoning was behind it. And this can open up new ways of you thinking about things. I also think watching movies is valuable because they are a true labor of love and they are true collaboration projects. They require many, many people in order for us to see the final thing. Whereas with photography, it can be a very solo, very lonely venture and there isn't really anyone to bounce off. So in times when I have felt like that, I have really turned to movies and watching panel discussions, listening to interviews with the cast, the director, and the team, and feeling like I am in conversation with them about their creativity. I believe not enough people do the investigating part after they've seen a movie, and that's where you can really immerse yourself and learn so much. You will 100% pick up little morsels of inspiration or things that you can take into your photography practice. Every role in a movie is so important and so involved. We recently watched a behind the scenes movie documentary of The Substance, and seeing how that movie was made and the way that they did it with the effects and all of the things that were going on was just crazy to see. And it really makes you think, wow, what do I want to do and who do I want to get involved with to do it? It just makes you feel so inspired seeing these people go to such great lengths to create this movie that they really feel the world needs to see. Movies are simply photos taken further, and they can inform your location, the lighting, the mood, the style, and so much more in your photography. So definitely get a list together. I will pop some things down below that I think that you should watch or will enjoy and explore the wonderful world of movies. Do you have a body of work or a project that you are wanting to display online in a meaningful way? Well, I would highly recommend doing so on Squarespace by building a website. A Squarespace website allows you autonomy over how your photography is presented, whilst also giving you endless options to customize and create drop-downs, pages, fonts, and sections so you can curate the experience and display your photography without compromise. A Squarespace website is your digital identity and a place to invite people to see you and your work holistically. Break free from the constraints of social media and get creative with your online presence in a way that you can control and update yourself. Plenty of additions like an online shop and SEO tools allow your website to grow with you as a photographer who might one day want to sell prints, guides, or presets and show up in search. With the design intelligence of over 2 decades experience in the field, Squarespace will allow you to build something modern, slick, and totally your own to share with friends, clients, galleries, and potential collaborators. So give your photography the online presence it deserves by heading to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to www.squarespace.com/Lucy Lumen to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. My second recommended source of inspiration is music. This one seems much more of a strange recommendation than movies, as there isn't a direct line between listening to music and taking photos, but let me explain how I use this to inspire my photography and creativity and how it feeds into it. So a lot of photography is mood-based. Different photographers give you different kinds of feelings and moods. To me, that's kind of the essence of a photographer's work. If you look at Eggleston's work, you get this kind of like lonely, eerie, nostalgic, sad, kind of weird feeling. But if you look at Slim Aaron's work, for example, you get this more casual, holiday, sunny, maybe a little bit sexy kind of vibe. They're both photographers, but they're creating very different moods. And music is something that creates a mood and also evokes huge amounts of emotion in us. I believe if you are looking for a spark of inspiration, music is a great first port of call. Music can make me feel powerful, like I'm gonna take over the world, or it can make me feel super relaxed and somber. So you can use this to your advantage when you're either taking photos or you're thinking about your next photography project. Just use that mood to bounce off. In fact, I found when I used to put my headphones in and walk around and take photos, which is something I used to do in my early 20s a lot, I would find that the images would differ depending on what I was listening to. I'd get in the zone listening to a certain band or discography, and then the photos would either reflect the mood of that music or maybe something culturally from that time, or an album cover from that band, etc. And I would love looking over and seeing those links come together. And even if you don't see a direct correlation between the music and the photograph, you might just find that music reinvigorates you and your soul because it just does that. The third source of inspiration is reading. So how often are you scrolling on your phone? Probably quite a lot. Me too. This often makes you feel dull and uninspired, especially lately on the internet. So why not do something instead like reading? This year I have replaced scrolling with reading, and it has done wonders for my creativity. I've noticed a huge boost in creative ideas that I am bringing to you here on YouTube, on my podcast, and just generally enjoying life and what it has to offer so much more because of being exposed to these new ideas and having conversations about the things that I'm exploring with the people around me instead of commenting on the news, politics, and all the other things that are going on in the world right now. This one is also a little bit abstract. It's not like I go out and take photos of the thing that's in the book. It's not like a one-to-one kind of thing here, but it just generally makes me feel inspired, creative, open, curious, and positive. And I think that that's a really important way to be if you want to have a positive relationship with creativity. The late and great David Lynch said that negativity is the enemy of creativity. And I think sometimes social media can really be feeding that in us all. And maybe that's why the platforms like Instagram and TikTok are so void of any originality or inspiring content. So next time you automatically go to look at photography to be inspired for your own photography, try one of these other things instead, because I think you will get a lot more out of it. Try and make these things a regular practice in your life, and I guarantee you will see a huge improvement in your creativity as well as just your general well-being. So just remember, photography isn't all about consuming more photography to get better at photography. I actually think that that is a backwards way of doing it, and I would love to hear from you guys what you do to reinvigorate and inspire yourselves. Comment below and let me know. And let me know if you have any movie or music or book recommendations as well. Thanks for watching, guys.